This video is on two-column proofs. We're going to be doing two two-column proofs on this video. These are what we call step proofs, where we are given information and it's already filled into the proof for us, and then we have to fill in the rest of it. So we're going to fill in the missing reasons. On this first problem, we have given angle YLF is congruent to angle FRY. In our first statement, we have that exact same statement. What that means is that we know why this statement is here. It's because it is given to us. So we write in reason one is given. We have that angle YLF is congruent to angle FRY because it was given to us. So we need to mark that in our picture because there's nothing in our picture, and we need to be able to see why these triangles are congruent, because our proof says prove that the two triangles FRY is congruent to triangle FLY. So we have to prove triangles congruent. We need three congruency statements. So YLF. L is your vertex, but it's going from YL to F. So it's this angle right here. So I'm going to mark it with an arc. Is congruent to angle FRY. So from F to R to Y. So this angle right here. I have the same amount of arcs because these are congruent to each other. The next statement is also a given. It's angle RFY is congruent to angle LFY. That statement is in statement 2. The reason we're allowed to put this here is because it is also given to us. So our reason 2 is given. Now we must go mark it. So angle RFY, so RFY, that's our vertex is F, but it's in this little triangle, so one arc, two arcs, is congruent to angle LFY, so LFY. Again, F is our vertex. We have two arcs. That's the end of our givens. So that's the end of our introduction. What we need to do now is our body paragraphs. We need to find more information so that we have enough to prove that triangles are congruent. We need three things. We already have two congruency. This is a congruent symbol, this is a congruent symbol. What I will do sometimes is I will mark off to see, are these angles or are these sides? This is an angle that is congruent. So I'm going to put an A beside it. Statement 2, since I have a reason for it, I have an angle that are congruent. So I'm going to put another A. I need one more piece of congruency. Because of the step proof, it already tells us what is congruent. It says that FY, segment FY, is congruent to segment FY. So segment FY is congruent to segment FY. That means we can mark that. We can mark it with a tick because it's a segment. Now the reason that these two segments are congruent to each other or to itself is called the reflexive property. So statement 3, or reason 3, would be reflexive. It is a property, which is why we're allowed to use it. Reflexive. It means that they are congruent to itself. So now that we have a reason, we can put off to the side if this is an angle or if this is a side. Since it is a segment, it is a side. We have three pieces of information that are congruent. That means that we should be able to go to our conclusion. Our conclusion, what we write in our statement, is whatever it says to prove. It tells us to prove that triangle FRY is congruent to triangle FLY. That is our last statement. We just have to come up with the reason. Now, over on the side, because I have this information, there are two things that I would be able to prove with two angles and one side. I can try and prove angle, side, or I can try and prove angle, side, angle. So I need to see which one this picture matches. Is it angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle? So I have two angles, but my side is either included or between the two angles, or not included, so outside the two angles. So my two angles are right here. I do not have a pink mark or my tick mark in the middle of my two angles. This side right here on ASA, this side is in between the two angles, but I don't have that in my picture. That means it must be angle, angle, side. Now if I look at my second triangle, I have my two angles, and again, I do not have a tick mark in between them. So it cannot be angle, side, angle. It has to be angle, angle, side. So the reason why these two triangles are congruent, so reason 4 would be angle, angle, side. An angle, angle, side is a theorem, so that's why we're allowed to use it. And this, we have proven that these two triangles are congruent. We did not skip anything. We used the givens, and then we found something else that we could use. On this next problem, again, we want to write out all of the givens. So our first given, we have segment LT is congruent to segment TR. That is written already here. Those are given. So we can go ahead and put given on reason 1. Now I'm going to mark it. Segment LT is congruent, so I have a tick mark, LT, and it's congruent to segment TR, so I put a tick mark on TR. Statement 2 comes from your given. Angle ILT is congruent to angle ETR. Same thing. Angle ILT is congruent to angle ETR. This is given, so reason 2 would be given. I want to mark it. ILT, so L is your vertex. This angle L right here is congruent to angle ETB. So T is the vertex, but you gotta be careful because there's multiple angles at T. ETR. That means that it's going into this triangle. So I have one arc on T here. And then our third statement, segment IT is parallel to segment ER. Also in statement 3, this is reason 3 would be given. So segment IT is parallel to segment ER. We want to mark that with the parallel lines. Now I'm going to go back through with my givens and see what we have. We have a segment congruent. That means I can put a letter to the side. That's an S for segment congruent. The next one, I have an angle congruent. So I can put an A. Statement 3, I have a segment parallel. Parallel does not mean congruent, so I cannot put anything here. That means I don't have enough information yet. So if I have a letter beside it, that means that one is done. I can stop with that. But this one does not have a letter. From my given, did not have a letter. I have to use this to find something else. Parallel lines give us angles that are congruent. So we want to find angles that are congruent from this picture. Our parallel lines are IT and ER. We have certain angles that we could look for. They could possibly be alternate interior angles, corresponding angles. We don't really want to look for alternate exterior because we don't want to be outside of the triangle. That won't really help us. And there's also vertical, but those aren't because of parallel lines. So parallel, we want to look for alternate interior or corresponding. Statement 4 actually tells us which angles they are, so we're going to actually use the statement to help us. So statement 4 says that angle LTI, so LTI, so this part of T, so two arcs here, is congruent to angle TRE, so TRE. R is our vertex, R is here. Now we just got to figure out what type of angles they are. So we look, this angle is touching the parallel line and another line. This angle is touching the other parallel line and the same line as the other, so that's the transversal. We have the parallel lines and the transversal. Now in this grouping right here on this parallel line, my pink marks are in the top above the transversal, so top left. If I come down here, these are also top left. So that means that these are corresponding angles because they're in the same location, just on the different level. So these angles are congruent because of corresponding angles. And that is a postulate, which is why we're allowed to use it. So now that I have a congruency statement, I can come back over here and say, is this an angle or a segment? This is angle is congruent. So I can put an A right here. Now that I have 3 letters, I should be able to go to my last statement, which I have. This is whatever your proof is your very last statement. So again, I have 2 letter A's and 1 S. So I could prove it by angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle. These are the 2 possibilities. So now we just got to look at our picture and determine which one it is. So we look at our markings. My 2 angles, that's what I focus on first, the 2 sets of arcs. My side is between those. It's in the middle of the 2 angles. This S is on the outside, so that's not in between. This S is your tick mark. This is your angle, this is your side, this is your angle. So we have the side in between them. So it is angle, side, angle. If we look at the other one, angle, side, angle. It's what's marked, not what's still there. We have to look at the tick marks and the arcs. Angle, arc, tick mark, angle, arc. So angle, side, angle. It means that our reason 5 for these 2 triangles to be congruent is angle, side, angle. An angle, side, angle is a postulate, which is why we're allowed to use it. So we have just proven these 2 triangles congruent.